doesn't. Most famously, Ian was the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, which is the most senior police position in the whole of England, which he held that position from 2005 to 2008, working his way up from being Deputy and Assistant Chief Constable here in Thames Valley Police and Chief Constable of Surrey. And he now sits in the House of Lords as a crossbench peer. So I don't know exactly what he's going to say, and I'll keep my introduction very short. I'll let Ian go on and share his wisdom with us.
Daniel, thank you very much, and thank you to those of you who are here for. Oh, I probably need to switch this on, do I? I think I do, don't I? That's it. Yeah, there we go.
That's it. I'll start that again. Anyway, thank you very much for those of you who are here on this rather dismal day. I think what we might do, if it's okay, is we might just start with a moment of reflective prayer. Since I'm talking about violent crime, about there's 39 people who were found dead in this refrigerated truck in Essex, and I think we might contemplate praying for them and praying for their families when this news reaches them. And also I would ask you, since I have some experience of this, to think about what it would have been like if the ambulance service or the police to open the back doors of that wagon and see what's in front of you. And then lastly, perhaps I'll ask you to contemplate about whether you might consider praying for the people who did this and how they got to the stage where they could contemplate making this kind of risk. And in a sense, that's what my talk is about. Let us have a moment of silence. So when Daniel asked me to give this talk and outline the other topics in the series, my early thought was that violent crime played on a slightly different plane to the broader topics in the series like equality and climate change. I'm certainly not even going to mention Brexit. But apart from these lectures, violent crime is not a lonely subject out on its own. Like fatal illness, divorce and mental health crises, it is at the heart of perhaps the central dilemma of all major religions. Where is God in the unfairness of the world? Well encapsulated in the title of the book by Melvin Tinkler, Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Cries Christ on the cross. Why did God allow the Holocaust? Why have two good friends of mine died young and shockingly without warning this year? And another one will die soon after a bitter but unavailing fight with cancer. What is the meaning of the book of Job? And what are the answers to a wonderful hymn by John Bell, which opens like this? Inspired by love and anger, disturbed by need and pain, informed of God's own bias, we ask him once again, how long must some folk suffer? How long can few folk mind? How long dare self-interest turn prayer and pity blind? From those forever victims of heartless human greed, their cruel plight composes a litany of need. Where are the fruits of justice? Where are the signs of peace? When is the day when prisoners and dreams find their release? I think though that violent crime has one specific feature which separates it out from other aspects of this vale of tears. This is an ill caused to one person by direct human agency, as opposed to illness and bereavement. Violent crime takes many forms. While I'm going to draw on many types, I'm going to concentrate on random violent crime. the type that emerges out of a clear blue sky, whether through terrorism, the scourge of our age, or personal attack, here and now, for you alone, or with a few other people, or many other people, but all at once, without warning. And not in any way diminishing the impact of other types of violent crime, such as interfamilial domestic violence and child abuse, nor the significance of some other types of crime, or some other sudden deaths. Some financial crimes can be devastating. The silent coercive control in a relationship, about now to be recognised as a crime in its own right in the new domestic abuse bill, is not physical violence, but equally abusive. The betrayal of trust implicit in some divorces, in rapes by someone known to the victim, or some instances of elder abuse are equally vile. Deaths in traffic accidents, or plane or train crashes are equally devastating to those left behind. But all of those have some element of our own choices in a complex society, whereas random violent crime often doesn't. For this talk, then, I want to concentrate on the experience of violent crime which has occurred against people in an unexpected, unforeseen manner. I know just how genuinely and understandably shocked people can be by the event, by its random nature, and by how they themselves react. I know how shocking it is, and how one's own reaction is unforeseeable. As a young police officer, I once had a man try and kill me with a machete inside a police cell. When I had disarmed him, I don't really remember it, but I had to be pulled off him before I did him serious harm personally. I had no idea how I was going to respond to that. But that event was more than 40 years ago. The past is a different country, although many of us grew up there. My view, in fact, is that Britain is not a violent country, but an increasingly violence-averse one. And my first exhibit is Andy Capp. How many people remember the cartoon Andy Capp? Yeah? Well, I'll explain who Andy Capp was, for those of you who don't. Andy Capp was a long-running cartoon strip based in Hartlepool, created in 1957. The cartoon series was subsequently syndicated not only in British newspapers, but in a fairly astonishing 50 other countries worldwide. Capp is portrayed, the author has died, but there is still a cleaned-up version, penned by others, still going ahead. He is portrayed as a work-evading, feckless scrounger who always comes out on top through ingenuity, barefaced lying, and unscrupulousness. In this, he was the pen and ink version of the eponymous character of a similar long-running TV series of the 1960s and 70s. I won't ask for a show of hands, but I bet quite a lot of you remember Albert Steptoe. But there was one difference between Albert and Andy, and that difference was violence. Although Steptoe and his son occasionally scuffled, there was no violence worth the name, because television bosses of the time would never have allowed it to be screened. But apart from his endless ability to get one up on the authorities and ensure that someone else paid for what he wanted, which are the hallmarks of many, many comic creations, what marks Capp's universe out from many others is violence. Violence not only accepted as a fact of life, but violence celebrated and indeed regarded as funny. There were two recurring scenarios: a fight in the pub and a fight at home, with Flo, his battle axe of a wife, who was usually portrayed waiting behind Capp's front door with a rolling pin. You remember her? The fights were always shown as a whirling cloud of dust, with fists and feet sticking out at random, and there are many images of characters with subsequent injuries. The only parallel I can find in this period is Asterix. But that's set in a mythical and centuries-old context of war and occupation, And as time passes and we're safe, we can all laugh at what would once have been very frightening, from the dinosaurs to the Vikings and so on. But Smythe wasn't drawing on a historical or mythical world, but one which many of his audience would understand and some would have experienced. A world in which violence was an everyday fact and in some contexts perfectly acceptable. I'm 66. As a child, I was hit for misbehaviour both at home, very rarely, and at school, a little more often. But I have met many of my age who were beaten regularly and sometimes viciously in either or both places. When I became a police constable in 1974, pub fights in pubs and clubs were a commonplace. And unless really serious damage was done to someone, the police would generally calm things down and chuck out the troublemakers, who would go home bearing the cuts and bruises as prized trophies of a good night out. In another example, you may have seen the film of this, film of the Grosvenor Square anti-Vietnam War demonstration in 1968 shows police and demonstrators seemingly engaged in just a larger version of one of those pub fights. Those who were there, and I've spoken to many of them, on both sides of the barricades, seem now to recall the incident with considerable satisfaction and even affection, as having been a really good bundle. Meanwhile, at that period and for too long thereafter, the police reaction to domestic violence, which mirrored that of society at large, was not to interfere between man and wife. Again, unless the injuries were very severe. None of those positions remain the same. Society has changed what is permissible and acceptable. Apart from an occasional smack to a toddler in a tantrum, assaulting its children is not commonplace for my generation or for those that follow. Police forces have positive arrest policies for domestic violence, requiring officers to explain why an arrest has not been made. Pub fights are less commonplace. Do you remember the film Notting Hill? There's a character crying out as a pub fight spills into the road in delighted surprise. It's a real fight. And in the modern cleaned up version of the cartoon, Andy Cap and Flo go to marriage counselling. The consequence of this is that violent crime, in the general sense which most people would conceive of it when the term is mentioned, that is, actions which cause injury or serious threats to do so, fell steadily from 1993 until 2016. In using the term in the general sense, I am quite deliberately walking past the huge complexity of recording crime methods, which has no place in this talk. It has started to rise again from 2014 as the cuts in public services began to bite. I will demonstrate that by the trend in the most reliable of all crime statistics, which is homicide. Taking just this century, there were 16 homicides per 1 million people in England and Wales in 2003. By 2013, the number was 9 people per million, 9 murders per million people. And as austerity bit, that rose to 12 per million in 2018. By the way, the term homicide includes murder and manslaughter and a tiny number of other types of offence. The pattern is scarcely touched on an annual basis against this large population by events such as those in Essex. But what statisticians do as they follow that graph is they point to out of ordinary events, which could be 7/7, it could be the murders by Dr. Shipman, it could obviously be the reclassification of the deaths at Hillsborough. But they don't really make more than a blip in this long decline. And one of the things I used to do when I had good friends around the table in London was ask them how many murders they thought there were in London every year. And people told me there were thousands of murders in London. But at one stage, for a population of 7 million residents and 3 million other people coming into the city every day. Last year there were 135 murders in London. There were 701 in the whole of England and Wales, and there were 760 in the United Kingdom as a whole. As well as the overall pattern, there are specific trends in serious crime. There is a sharp spike at the moment in knife crime, as you're all aware. There was in the 2000s as well. The causes of both episodes are clear and similar. Cutbacks in police numbers and deep cuts in public sector services for children and young people, which would divert them from crime. In 2000, the particular cause was knife-enabled robbery to steal the newly invented mobile phones. Now it's the county line phenomenon of drug dealing, which is the new contributor. Nonetheless, violent crime is low here, very low here, in comparison to most countries in Europe and across America and the Commonwealth. It is unexpected if it happens, and random, and therefore all the more shocking to those who experience it. So what might be the Christian response? Because otherwise we're just getting a lecture on violent crime. Well, it seems to me that there might be three possibilities as Christians, or indeed followers of any religion, and none. The first is simply a rational acceptance that, as history makes clear, humans have a shocking propensity for violence. They are, after all, one of the only two mammals that appear to kill for fun, the other being foxes. So other than praying for the offender, and for those required to deal with the aftermath professionally, move on and put it behind you. The second, I think, is deeper, which is a commitment to try to understand motivations, to try to help offenders and prevent the victimisation of others. Prison reform, the probation service as we know it now, and many, many charities for offenders have had their origins in the experience of crime by individuals with a faith-based background. The most challenging response, however, is forgiveness. And it's challenging because when you see it happen, or hear about it happening, you have to consider whether you would have it in you to forgive. And I don't think that any of us know whether we ourselves would be able to do that when it happens. I have an analogy here, which is part of my professional background. I was commissioner when the London bombings happened in 2005. The instant reaction for the hundreds of people who were on the trains or the platforms when that happened was to turn and run away. Extremely sensible. Some, however, didn't run away. Some climbed into the bombed carriages, into scenes of medieval carnage, and tried to bind the wounds of the injured and to comfort the dying in almost complete darkness. The common response when asked why they had done that, and it was not because they were mostly off-duty emergency workers or medics, most of them had no first aid training at all. The common response was that they had no idea why they had done that. So it seems to be with forgiveness. You may remember Gordon Wilson in Omar, who cradled his daughter as she died in his arms after the Omar bombing in 1998. On radio the next day, he forgave her killers. Anthony Berry was the Conservative MP who was killed in the 1984 Brighton bombing during the party conference. His daughter subsequently began to write to the bomber, Patrick McGee, in prison, and eventually went to see him. They now lecture together about the nature of violence and forgiveness for a very estimable organisation called the Forgiveness Project. Lucy and I have heard them speak together. A more recent example is this month. At the end of a murder trial in Texas, after a white female police officer, Amber Geyer, had been found guilty of murdering her black neighbour. The dead man's brother walked across the courtroom, right over to her, hugged her, gave her a Bible, saying that he forgave her. Would you run towards the train, or would you run away? Who knows until the moment comes. Christ said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." Most of the time, they do know what they do. Not to be able to forgive is in itself completely forgivable. I hope so. I have looked into the eyes of a few people whose actions have been so depraved that I have never been able to forgive them. And I wasn't the victim. At the same Forgiveness Project event, which Felicity and I attended, a young Christian woman from Rwanda made clear that she was simply unable to forgive the victims of her extended family, of which she was the only living survivor. Most of the killers had been their neighbours. It's a huge ask, and we each individually simply have no idea. We can only pray that we would have some sliver of forgiveness, but who knows? We can only look in admiration and in hope. At the end of that same hymn, John Bell gives a clue about the unpredictability of human choices in a time of crisis by focusing on the humanity of Christ and his opening up of endless possibilities in us all. God asks, "Who will go for me? Who will extend my reach? And who, when few will listen, will prophesy and preach? And who, when few bid welcome, will offer all they know? And who, when few dare follow, will walk the road I show?" Amused in someone's kitchen, asleep in someone's boat, attuned to what the ancients proclaimed, exposed and wrote, a saviour without safety, a tradesman without tools, has come to tip the balance with fishermen and fools. God bless us all, and make sure you forgive yourselves.